Hello and welcome to Sunday League Virtual. This is Season 3, Round 2. We're here for the Belarusian Grand Prix at the Brest City circuit, one of the fictional circuits that we absolutely adore to return to in Sunday League Virtual. Season 1 saw Eurus DNF here. He went on to win the championship that season. Right, let's get going here. In terms of the upgrades coming into this race, if we get rid of the logo quickly. The team overview in the upgrade progression, right very there. Look at the upgrades for Brest City, and we have an acceleration upgrade for BFX. VLO took grip and succeeded it. WTech failed both, and KRT failed a speed with a 10% boost, and then didn't get their second upgrade, which would have been a speed with 20% boost. BAR got a grip upgrade, PRG with a speed, and THX acceleration. Double success for SFR today. They get speed with their 10% boost used, and grip as well. Double failure for FVR, speed and grip both not succeeding there. And FUR fail on a speed plus 10, but succeed on a grip upgrade. In terms of the tokens used this race, you can have a look at them here. Rito using none, Sobel 3, Kubo none, Blue Bubble 1, Spuda none, Andres 2, neither for either of the KRTs, Jake 2, that's down from 3 last week, Eurus none this week, Het none, Julo 2 again, Grandy none, Pit Crew 1, Vlad 2, this time Anti go from 4 to none this week, Goose with none, and Jaruni with 2, Komi none, and EK with 1. Let's see how the grid will stack up for qualifying. Sobel takes pole position by nearly 0.3 of a second. Andres will accompany him up on the front row. Julo starts in 3rd position. Jake Bride in the BAR will start 4th place. Vladinator 5th in the SFR. Eurist in 6th place for BAR. And another SFR down in 7th place, with Porsche in 8th and Spuda in 9th. A Hetmenica driver for Porsche putting them on the 4th row of the grid. So very interesting that we have a lot of repeating teams within the top 10. Only Sobel does not have his teammate within the top 9. All other drivers from WTech, from BAR and from SFR are both in there. But Rito, the reigning champion, down 11th. Kubo starts ahead of him in 10th. Pit Crew in 12th position. They're all a second off the pole. Jaruni in 13th place, and Bloomer Boy starts from 14th on the grid. Hernandi 15th in the KRT, Goose in 16th position now. Grandy in 17th place for ThunderX, 18th for Apple Amazing, 19th for Ikolowski, and 20th for Kamikaze. The Fuerza Rojas in their very, very lovely brand new livery lock out the back row of the grid for the second race running, I believe. We'll have a look just quickly at the standings coming in to this race. Here is the Drivers' Championship. Sobel leading the way after winning the first race of the season last time out in Kyalami. And Jake Brad finishing second that race, and agonisingly close, less than a second place. But he is there. Spuda in the WTech strong start to the season for him. He is in 3rd place in the driver's standings, and Anti in 4th with his 4th place and a fastest lap. This is all just the race result from last time, basically, with that being the only point scoring we've had so far. In terms of the constructors, BAR lead the way, 28 points. 2nd and 5th last race was enough to secure them the lead of the constructors. 27 for BFX with their win, and of course 2 points from Rito finishing 9th position. WTech 21 points for them. A good finish from Andres with 0 tokens that we feel didn't really get enough mention last race. Very good car they've got there, and very good drive from him despite the lack of tokens. And of course Spuda on the podium. SFR 17 points for them, a big token spend last race, but it looks to have paid off to a certain degree. Porsche with Julo's 8 points on its very debut in Sunday League Virtual, and of course 10th place for, I believe it was Goose in last race. We're all set to go here for the Sunday League Virtual Season 3, Round 2 Belarusian Grand Prix. Should be a good one. Let's go. 5 lights ahead of them. We're underway here in Belarus. Sobel leads them away from pole position, gets a really good start on that soft compound tyre. Andries in second place, Julo still in third, drops back a little bit though as Jake gets through on him, and Jake battling his old teammate now up into second place. He goes as well. Andries has to file it for third. Julo at the inside of Andries now. Andries looked really good earlier on. He's been double overtaken just recently. Euro's still there. The SFR's fighting Hetmenica. Anti takes a bit of wall there. Rito in the background, then Kubo and Jaruni fighting it out as well. The SFR side by side into the final corner. Vlad has to back out his teammate. Anti also on the softs goes through there. On to lap 2 we go. Jake Brad second place still. Julo, then Juris, who's made up positions at the start of the race. Hetmenica and Andries, Vlad and Anti. Rito still hanging around in 9th place. He's also made up a couple of spots, but Sobel looks to be coasting away from pole position. The only runner in the top 6 on the soft at the moment. Side by side go Juris and Julo. Can Juris get the better drag into the final corner on the mediums? He does. Can he keep it tidy on the exit? He managed to do that as well. Good for him. Andries looking to attack Julo as they file through the first corner. Jaruni with a very impressive start. He's in 8th position. Now up the inside of Anti. Make that 7th place. He's through on Hetmenica as well. Further back, battling continues. Het having another go at Anti, but he is on the hards, remember. Kubo and Pit Crew there as well. Goose, Grandi, then Ike all the way up from 19th to 15th now. Or 20th was he started. Quite low down. Spuda must have been forced in because he's already made a pit stop. That's awful. Awful for the driver today in the fantastic WTEC car who'll be looking to score some points and hasn't. He's had to pit on the very first lap of the race twice now in the first few laps. That's unbelievable. Bad luck for him. The top 10 have all pitted for the wet weather tyre. The bottom 10 have all pitted. The top 10 have not. They're just coming in now. So Sobel and Jake had that time very nicely for him. But don't be surprised if some of these lower down drivers, like the likes of Jaruni, Rito, Anti, and Het, do get a bit of comeuppance with drivers coming in now. Vlad, bit of an odd stop there. He has to go sideways nearly into the box. Rito past Anti in the pit lane. Kubo, the first of those to pit earlier, does make up a couple of positions. He's through on Anti and he's through on Hetmenica as well. Good for him, but generally status quo kept. Sobel still in the lead. Jake second, Juris third, Andries fourth, Julo up into 5th place. He's benefited off of that. The SFRs are really the ones who have lost out. I think Vlad had some confusion in the pit box, had to go in sideways and take a slightly lopsided longer stop. He's now nowhere really that close to Julo, over a second off him. Jaruni doing very, very well. Let's check Jaruni's token spending this race because he is putting in 2 in an attempt to try and get some good points for the FVR team, who don't have the strongest car at the moment, but do have 1 World Championship point to their names currently after the performance in Kyalami. Taking a look at the rest of the drivers, Rito, followed by Kubo, got himself ahead of Anti and Het, who have dropped down from running in the mid part of the top 10 down to just on the fringes of it. Hetmenica currently not on course to score World Championship points in what is a very fast Porsche, but essentially a bit of a rocket ship on wheels, because it can sure go fast in a straight line. The question is, can it turn? The answer is not really. A lot of battling in the background. The THXs both going for moves. Grandi through on Bluebell, Pit Crew through on Goose. And that was a fantastic manoeuvre from both THX cars. Jesus Christ, I hate pronouncing their names. Ekolowski's still behind Bluebell Boy. He's not had the best start. Bluebell, he's still in 15th position, so will still leads. Andries put some pressure on Jurist, his replacement for 2nd position. Sort of replacement. Andries had a seat in Season 1. Jurist has it now in Season 3, but they fought in Sunday League Virtual before, both being originals of the sport, and Mart's attempt at taking that final podium position off Jurist currently futile. Jurist still holding onto it for the moment. Jake still in his pursuit of Sobel, on paper the better car, but he's not spending as many tokens. 3 for Sobel today and 2 for Jake. That's unlike last weekend, remember, or last Wednesday actually, so like very far away from the weekend still, where Sobel and Jake were both spending 3 tokens. We had the likes of Antion 4, no such thing today, just 2 for Jake, 3 for Sobel. Sobel looking to continue his strong start to the season, basically win it from the outset. It looks like Jake, to a degree, doing that as well, spending still 5 tokens in the first 2 races, quite a lot, but mainly looking to make advantage of what is a very, very strong car, currently the best on the grid, especially after that recent upgrade that they succeeded. I believe it was a grip. I think it was a grip upgrade, yeah. Eurus still in third, still under a bit of pressure from Andres, who is in a car that has notoriously done very well. Of course, WTEC won the Belarusian Grand Prix last year at the hands of Spuda. So, and of course, Spuda was on the podium as well in Monaco. So don't let anybody say that these cars, these bright blue, brilliant WTECs, are not good around street tracks, because they are very, very strong here indeed. Sobel and Jake into the pits. Eurus and Andres follow. Sobel takes the hards. We could see him drop back a little bit here. The hards are, of course, not as fast as the softs, go figure. But at a street track, the severity of that, I'd say, is quite lessened by the fact that you've got so many corners, much more dependent on the grip of a car than on the overall speed, unlike a lot of tracks where speed is your biggest friend. If you look at the team overview here, let's take a look at the teams with the best grip. Of course, we've got BAR and now SFR, after their recent upgrades, are on 4 grip as Jake looks to close in further on Sobel. He's going to be getting him soon. VLO also on 3 grip. BFX, WTEC. WTEC not nearly as strong with grip as they were last season. 2 for them, and FVR as well. 1 for the likes of KRT, PRG, and Fuerza Roja, and 0 for Thunder X. The only team gripless so far. Sobel just trying to lap Apple amazing here. Apple new to the sport, new to the league, sorry, not having the best start to it. They go 3 wide into the first corner. Jake looking to benefit off of this if he can weed his way through the man at his home Grand Prix. Apple amazing, the Belarusian racer, one of 2 drivers who are Belarusian on the grid. The other, of course, being Jaruni, spending big at his home race too, and Levioso, yet another Belarusian driver who has stood on the podium here back in season 1. Jake with a really good exit out the final corner. Can he use turbo to get through on Sobel? Yes, he can into turn 1. They go through the chicane. He covers off the inside a little bit, goes slightly deep though into the left-hander. That's immediately allows Sobel back up the inside. That's a really poor bit of driving from Jake. Just overcooked it with the overtake there. Tried to take a wider line into the corner to compensate for braking later, and Sobel just sneaks back up the inside. Jake on these softs is not making the best use of it that he can. Andres is now past Eurus. I have a feeling he did that a couple laps ago. They're both on the soft. Andres having just gone past his teammate. He might be asking Spuda to get the elbows out and defend a little bit. But Julo on the hards has really closed up to Eurus, who was challenging for the podium. So that's fascinating to me that both of these drivers running the top 5 on the hard compound tyre are doing pretty well with it and do have a lot longer to go on that hard. It also means that they're better position if it starts raining at some point after the soft runners pit. They can still benefit off that. Vladinator spending twice today. He's in 6th place at the moment. His teammate not spending any is in 10th. Jaruni just trying to navigate some slower cars at the moment. Rito will be chasing him down through that final chicane and final corner. They go. Kubo in 9th place. He's worked his way up into the points, looking for his first points of the season and challenging for the championship at the end of last season with 1 race to go. Remember, it was, of course, just a few points between him and the championship leader, but Interlagos did not go his way. We'll have to see if this season might change for him, but judging from the really slow start to the season from Team Velocity, a team very used to success with numerous race wins to their name, I think 5, is it? Something about that. And lots of podiums, of course. They're not used to having both cars finish outside the points on a regular basis. They're going to be hoping that Kubo or Bluebell will be able to work their way into there today. We're still watching the battle on board with Julo in that beautiful blue Porsche. Can he try and get past Eurus here? Eurus going down into the last corner. Who gets the better exit down into it? Definitely Eurus, but he does have to come into the pit lane. That allows Julo to run free into 3rd place as the soft runners pit. Jake will extend, knowing he has pitted already, come out ahead of Julo. Sobel still out on those old hards. Jake looking for the undercut here. Julo, then Vladinator, who's also yet to pit off his softs. He'll be looking to do that relatively soon. The Fuerza Rojas, it has to be said, not doing too badly at this phase in the race, of course. They are 14th and 16th, and Spuda not having recovered that nicely just yet from his very, very early pit stop. That's as close to a sort of, well, I would say as close to the DNF as you'd get here at Brest, but we have actually had a DNF here at Brest. It's still a huge time loss, and the fact that when you're that low down, it's not an easy, you know, as you'd see in these big gaps up at the front, sort of 5, 6, 7 seconds. that you can just gain that back up. When you're at the back, you've got so much overtaking to do that even a car like Spuda, who would challenge for points on the normal basis, has to try and navigate through these cars that he shouldn't be fighting in that WTEC. Who's been into the pits? Jake, of course, recently has been, is Vladinator. Yes, he came in last lap, down to 7th place now. Jiruni ahead of him is preferring the hard stint at the moment. Mediums for Urist, pretty new for him. No too close gaps, although we do have Andres chasing down Julo for the time being. Julo on pretty old hards. They were working for him well at the beginning of the stint. He's going to hope that the strategy will pay off in the end, maybe taking a pit stop less, because he has been caught by Andres, who he was trying to chase down, who has taken an extra pit stop. So you've got to hope that the offset that the hards give you will actually work out in the end. The whole top 6 bar Urist running on the hard compound tyre at the moment, and a lot of traffic for our front runner. Sobel having to get his way through Kubo, who's a lap down, Komi, who's 2 laps down, Pit Crew, who's in 9th place. Good for him, looking for his first points of the season, I think. Jake Brad in 2nd place. That gap is still about 1 second. Let's have a look at the drivers' standings. Yeah, Pit Crew 15th place last race. No points for him just yet. No points for Thunder X indeed. Grandy finishing 17th as well. Jake really making gains on Sobel now. Can he get alongside? No, he just gets forced wide by Kubo going through the very tight technical sector there. But Sobel is not out of the woods with these back markers just yet, and Andres might just be licking his lips at an opportunity here. Pit Crew has to drift wide through the first corner. Is Sobel finally unleashed? Kubo's back up the inside. Weirdly enough, this isn't too bad for Sobel. He would be going slowly already with worn tyres, so if Jake is having to go as slow, then that's not too bad for him. But they are now both clear of the lapped cars, as Kubo has a half look back up, but Jake again widens that corner, and again Kubo slips back through. This is really hurting Jake, who already is on a different strategy to Sobel, who's now into the pit lane, and Sobel with his really worn tyres still wasn't passed by Jake just yet. He's going to have to hope that the pit stop strategy with the hards is going to be the better one still, but it's not like Jake was able to massively gap him on those very, very much fresher hards. As we're about, as Jake thunders through this final sector, just over halfway through the Belarusian Grand Prix, Komi and Grandy wide into the wall. Remember, Andres up to 2nd place as Sobel into the pit lane. Urus will be coming in pretty soon off his mediums. Julo still running in 5th, Vladinator in 6th, and Jiruni not yet spoken about that much. He's in 7th position at the moment. That's really nice for him. Rito running in 8th place too. He's not had quite the best start to the season, but he hasn't spent any tokens, so you can't ever underestimate this man's ability to bounce back. Remember, he spent a token in round 2 last year at the Malaysian Grand Prix and failed to score a point with it, and everyone thought that that might just be a big dent in the man who nearly won the title in Season 1, but he came back ever stronger and absolutely smashed out of the park in the mid part of Season 2, did claim that title. Julo closing in on Andres here. Softs for him, mediums for Andres. They wind their way through turn 3 and 4, and Andres gets a lot better traction. Looks like Andres recently pitted and has re-overtaken the Polish driver, who doesn't have too far to go from his homeland over to Belarus for this race in particular. Any closer gaps? Only Jiruni chasing down Vladinator. This is 6th and 7th place. The Russian versus the Belarusian, the homeboy hero versus the man who's about to go into the pit lane for SFR. Urist is in 2. He's on to the hards. Let's have a look a little bit further afield. Rito on the softs, Kubo on the mediums, and Anti on the softs as well. A lap down from Julo. No real close battles there. All, to be honest, anywhere else on the grid. Most cars separated by about a second from the man in front. Hetmenica down in 13th place. A bad start for him after a strong grid position, and don't think he'll be on to score points today, but he's being chased down by Ikalowski in the Fuerza Roja. Maybe that grip upgrade, just that one upgrade they got this week, is really going to help them out, because that's looking the way at the moment. Pit Crew through on Anti. This is for the final points paying position, and he gets a lovely little boost through. No, in small part helped by that slipstream from Julo, the little tow along that he will get off him. Anti still closing in on pit crew though. This is 1 point, but it could all matter come the end of the season. SFR last season survived relegation by just 3. So really, really cutting it close there. Everything can and will matter here in Belarus, particularly any big mistakes or DNFs or what have you. Rito closing in now. He's lapping Spuda, who I believe it was Rito who fought with him for the lead in this very race last season. Spuda came out triumphant. Good for him. He's a lap down now. Andri's a lap up from Rito, so we've got cars on very different laps, but Rito is fighting Kubo. Ducks back up the inside as we say that. Jake Brad chasing down Andres, though. He's just come into the pit lane. Andres has pretty significantly older mediums there, as well as our Sobel's hards. But those hards will have good longevity towards the end. He's the only driver in that top 3 who hasn't stopped for a 4th time, and Jaruni, the other one who've only made 3 stops in the top 8. Andres and Jake going at it. Season 1 teammates under Jake's team. Can they try and work their way through here? It would be difficult to get an overtake into there with how far back he was, but the grip is really going to help him out as we come to the final 16 laps of this Grand Prix. Julo, Jaruni and Urist all fighting it out down there. Yep, all back here. Urist is a little bit behind them as Jake closes in on Andres once again, going into turn 1, turn 2, through the chicanes, makes the move stick. Very, very nicely done indeed. Sobel not too far away now, but he's had this race in the palm of his hand. He just needs to hope that the maths adds up when it comes towards the very end. If he's in about 3 laps time, he can probably take one final stint on those hards and come home, secure the victory, take a pit stop less than everybody else, and that is going to be, I think, what he'll be looking to do. But the AI very unpredictable with their strategies sometimes. Jake through on Andres, Julo back here, and Urist trying to chase him down. Jaruni in 6th place at the moment. This is a fantastic midfield scrap. It's 4th all the way down to 7th within about 5 seconds of each other. Julo going through turn 1 or 2 or something at the moment. Jaruni on very old hards, Urist on slightly newer ones. I was wondering why Jaruni was up there competing for 5th, but looks like he has been paying it back for taking that stop less so far. Vladinator will be looking to make a move as well, but Jake will definitely be looking at an overtake on Sobel as Ekoloski comes up to, I think, lap his teammate. Maybe, yeah, amazing that. Sobel has to work his way through them. Jake gets up the inside of him, and that's a really nice overtake into the camel head section right at the top of the track, and he does get through. When the Fuerza Rojas were battling, Sobel had to go wide. Jake slips up the inside, Sobel slips into the pit lane. He knows all of his defending work is done. He'll have one final go to the end. Looks like he's going to go 13 laps on the softs, which is interesting. Maybe he'll go 6 and 7 as opposed to 13, because that would be a very, very long way to stretch them. I would have thought with his current strategy, he'd probably opt for a hard stint to end it off, but his choice. It is a grip-dependent track, so if you have short stints on softs, probably much better than trying to extend any old tyres. Andre's still dropping back yet more from Jake. He probably will be in this lap or next. He does file into the pit lane now. Sobel re-overtakes, lapping his teammate there as well. It was Goose into the pit lane too. Let's look at the closer battles further down. Grandy has had the same mistake, the same problem that Urus had in Season 1. Has that permanently affected his pace? It's hard to say. He is definitely having some difficulties there. He's, remember, competing outside of the points currently. He's down in last place. I think he just had an issue. Maybe it was a pit exit checkpoint that was the issue there, but he's got very worn tyres, and I'm not sure if he's able to come into the pit lane. That might be the really, really bad thing for him if that is the case. Sobel closing in on Jake. We'll have a look with him just as soon as we can check if Grandy is able to come into the pits. No, but he hits the wall and he's slowing down against it again. Looks like he's trying to, but some sort of checkpoint issue means that he has to go to the exit. It's basically like taking a drive through every lap on very old worn tyres as he slides his way through turn 1. But Sobel, Jake into the pit lane now. One last stint for him. Will it be the mediums? No, it'll be the softs. He thinks that he can take them 10 laps. That'd be quite adventurous for him. This could work out really nicely for Sobel. He probably will have to make that 5th pit stop still after taking softs with 14 laps to go, 13 laps to go. But this might work out well because I think 10 laps on the softs for Jake. It's going to be a pretty ambitious effort. Grandy is in effect DNF'd here. He's lined up by the pit wall. It seems to be getting worse and worse, that issue, as he drives by the pits each time, each lap, and can't quite get his way through. He sort of triggers the checkpoint near the end there, but it wasn't going to be points today for him. Anyways, we do have rain, and that final stop for Sobel has been saved. He doesn't need to make it, and he will be able to come in for the wets. Julo, our first driver into the pit lane, well, it's basically still sunny. He might have a little bit of difficulty at turn 1 with those wets. Sobel coming in pretty good times. It just starts to drip down as the front runners enter into the pit lane. We'll have a look at the order on the way out, and this has basically confirmed what has already been quite a comfortable race for Sobel. Andres in second place. That's fascinating. The stop that he saved from that, with Jake just having come in for the mediums, might secure him second place in this race, despite the fact that he does have the slower car. I believe the WTEC only slower through having less grip, same on every other stat. But grip is the contributing factor here at the Brest City circuit. Sobel not too far ahead, and does have a lot of cars to lap between now and the checkered flag. So Andres could go either way here. Maybe down to third place, maybe competing with the BFX for the win, as it was with both of their teammates here just one season ago. Jake still chasing. Julo not really helped that much by the lap early stop, but I don't think he'll fall into the clutches of Eurist, with the Portuguese driver being about 6-5, whatever it is, seconds back. Jaruni helped out to a degree there. I think Vladinator must have just come in recently because he's well behind Rito running in 8th place, Anti in 9th. They're both quite a long way off each other and the front 7. Then it's Pit Crew and Bluebell Boy fighting it out for the final point at the very moment. Kubo right behind them, and then it's Hetmanica making his way through the first sector too. Andres has to lap all of these drivers. This will be pretty crucial in the fight for the podium. 1 second is the gap between Jake and Andres. Spuda, Andres' teammate's going to try and hold Jake up. Can't do it to the best of his ability. This entire gaggle's behind him, and they do come into the pits now. Sobel has extended a lap further. That's fascinating. When will the track be dry? It is now. He's going to have to navigate the entire lap. He did have about a 4-second gap between him and second place, which was Mard Andres. But going through the first sector with the track already dry, and particularly this very grip-intensive final sector, while Andres is on the softs, could absolutely change the complexion of the race. Sobel and Anti both into the pit lane. We'll keep an eye on Andres and Jake making their way through. Sobel, one of the last drivers off the wet tyre. Has it worked out for Andres? He goes through turn 1 now. He's right behind Sobel. Can he get into the lead of the race? Sobel making his way through turn 3. Anti getting in the way here. This is the only thing that stopped Andres from getting through. He is through now. He's right up to the back of Sobel. This will be a man v man, Dutch v Dutch fight for the win here at the Belarusian Grand Prix. Andres gets a poor run through that corner, down to the last one. Now he really needs the better run out of the last corner. Does get it to a certain degree. Into turn 2 they go, through the hairpin, through the chicanes. 3 laps left. Don't count Jake out of this, and what we thought might be a bit of a boring one to end with Sobel having wrapped it up, has been blown out of the water completely by the wet tyre strategy. Sobel is through the back markers now, didn't lose much time going through them, and has got a good pace with those 3 tokens. Looks like he'll be trying to just gap Andres if he can. These Fuerza Rojas are going to be a huge variable. Grandy looks to be back up to racing speed, which is excellent for him, but he will still be counted as a DNF, having unrepresentative issues during the race. Jake closing in on Andres as that win slips further and further away from one Dutchman to the other as we head onto the very last lap of the Grand Prix. The gap is now 1.5 seconds, nearly 2 seconds at times, as they make their way through the final sector. This is the fight for the podium, the fight for the win. It looked like Jake might have competed for it early on. It looked like Sobel had it so wrapped up a few laps ago, but that one overcut did get the case wide open. It looks like he will just about hold on though. He was driving for Phoenix Motorsport last season, took 2 wins in one of the worst cars on the grid. Well, that 2-win total might just be matched again today as he rounds the final corner. The Flying Dutchman, Sobel, will win the Belarusian Grand Prix. Andries comes home with a very tight second place. Jake Brad only third for him in what is a faster car with the same number of tokens spent. Julo will be elated with a 4th place in his Porsche, the speed upgrade serving them really well for this race. Urus and Spuda hit the pit wall. Spuda forces Urus into the pit wall there. Spuda was a lap down, of course, and Urus didn't have anyone particularly interfering with him. So he will still take 5th place. He wasn't that close. It didn't matter too much in the end, but Urus doesn't seem to have much love here for the Belarusian Grand Prix. Jaruni takes 6th place in his home race. That is a valiant effort. And Vladinator will take 7th. Rito looking at 8th. And Antti just having come into the pit lane. Maybe coming in for fastest lap, since he's clearly not going to be making up any positions, being 18 seconds off the car ahead. Rito will come home and take 4 points for 8th place. Antti won't be able to finish this final lap in all likelihood. But it will be Bluebell who takes 10th position. Fastest lap went to the race winner, Sobel, winning in 25 minutes, pretty much on the dot. What a fantastic bit of motor racing we had here in Belarus. Kubo not scoring points for the second race running. It's 11th for the Team Velocity driver. Pit crew in 12th place. Hetmenica 13th in his Porsche. Very, very close for the final top 10 spots. Antti down to Het, separated by just 8 seconds, 9th to 13th. Goose, 14th place for him. Ikoloski in 15th. That's promising for the Fuerza Roja driver, because he has shown that they can be capable of competing higher up than last place. Amazing, 16th in his home race. He won't be too pleased with that one. 2 minutes off the race winner. Spuda in 17th, an early pit stop forced that he never really recovered from in his race. Really capitalised by a final collision with the pit wall that probably cost him 16th place with Urus there. Hanandi 18th for KRT, not a good showing from the tokenless team today. 19th for Kamikaze, and not finishing in actuality is Grandy, 20th place. Thunder X. A fantastic, fantastic race here today. It's been one street circuit today. It will be another next Wednesday as we head to the Principality, the jewel in the crown of the Sunday League virtual calendar, the longest contract in the history of the league. It's the Monaco Grand Prix. Great race last season. Hoping for another one next week too. But for now, this has been the Belarusian Grand Prix. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.